Good stuff. Thanks, Martin. I just want to show this to somebody after we're done. So look, thanks for giving me a look over on this. So
no
yeah,
problem.
look. What I'm looking to do is I just want a quick overview of Cim50. It's just a kind of a refresher for me. Obviously, I have a few clients already using the system who've sold it, but I just want to just go over it with you, just in case I'm missing a trick. And I want to pass this on that, you know, a couple of people aren't available to take a look at it. So if you can give me a quick gander through it, and if we can talk through a few of the actual modules, I'd appreciate it.
No problem. Any sort of key features that you feel are
I
relevant
need to be on top
some of the
of,
clients? Yeah,
please do.
no problem. Okay, so I'll share my screen.
Great stuff.
Okay, so how's that for you? Excellent.
Yeah,
okay. So first of all, just sort of point out that Cim50, it runs in its own window, sits next to Sage 50 accounts and is completely integrated with that. So you don't need to have Sage 50 open to run Cim50, but just needs to be installed. And it's the only fully integrated manufacturing solution for Sage 50.
Cool.
Okay. So when we drop into Cim50, presented with sort of a home screen with some pertinent information about sort of versions, our check data to make sure that we're keeping things in check, because we are an integrated solution. So we want to make sure that things are in check between the two systems, and news and things like that. Down the left hand side of here, we've got the modules. So just as a reminder, 6 modules in the range with Cim50. Stock control, bills and materials, planning and MRP, materials requirement planning, quotations, works orders, and sitting outside of the main program is the shop floor data capture, FSDC, which is the barcoding solution. So basically any stock transaction can be carried out using a barcode. So goods received, dispatches, issues of stock takes, okay, those sorts of things can be carried out with a barcode, as well as booking actual labour times to works orders at the relevant point.
So for managing route cards and stuff like that, is it?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, so the route cards will be generated from the works order module, as for instructions to the shop floor, as well as picking lists for the stores to go and pick the materials, which could include sort of traceability information as well, if a business was interested in traceability.
So the base module is the stock control module, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. So you have to start with that.
Yeah.
And then what you can do is you can hang the others off of that. So depending on the type of business that you are, so if you're sort of a repeat manufacturing business, you'd probably go for bills and materials, works orders, and if you wanted the planning module, you can add that as well. But if you were sort of a business where you were doing one-offs, so you maybe metal bashing, creating a one-off unique items that you need to quote, and then turn those into a job, you go for the quotations module. You might not go for bills and materials. If you're a mixed mode manufacturing business where you do a bit of one-off and a bit of repeat, then you would take both bills and materials and quotations. But we allow you to mix and match, basically.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of customers that come to me and you know, they'll tell me they're looking for a manufacturing or a production system, and I've found probably 8 times out of 10, it's probably 1, maybe 2 modules will suit that particular type of business. So it's good to know that you know, that there are certain modules fit certain industries as well.
Yeah, that's it. And it allows people to phase projects as well, so they can just sort of take it a step at a time, and move through the modules. And sometimes they're some of the better implementations, to be fair, if people have not digitized their sort of manufacturing processes in the past. Okay. So stock control, then, if we start there, just to introduce people to this data set, is office furniture, because we're always sat by a desk, so we can refer to it as it's got a top, it's got legs, it's got drawers, that sort of thing. But all intents and purposes, it's just product codes and descriptions. We can list out all of the fields which exist in Sage 50 accounts. We can amend every field which exists in Sage 50 accounts, and when we create a new product in Cim50, it will find its way into Sage 50 accounts. So fully integrated.
Gotcha. And one of my questions there, just straight off the bat, is because Sage 50 doesn't have any kind of traceability, you can do it with the actual stock control module here. Am I right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So over here we've got our traceable type. So you'll see that I've got non-traceable, batch traceable, and serial number traceability. Okay,
Got it.
and that's by item. Okay,
Gotcha.
so you know, cardboard boxes, we don't need them to be traceable, but you know, a piece of electronic equipment may have a serial number, and you might want to record that sort of information. Okay.
It's fine.
So you can see here we've got the fields running across, so what's in stock, allocated, free stock, that sort of thing. So they're all coming from Sage. When we carry out a transaction in Cim50, we're updating those figures in Sage as well. So we keeping it all in sort of check
A quick
and balance.
question for you. A quick question for you, not to divert you in any way, right? One of the things that I'm always coming up against when I'm talking about stock control, because we have our own stock control system as well for warehousing. But one of the big drawbacks, I think, with Sage 50, and one of the reasons why people look at 200 over 50 is the fact that 50 is a single location. But I notice you've got a quarantine area there up on the top. I don't know if that's linked to that in any way. Like, do you set any kind of areas outside, say within Cim50 that you wouldn't in 50?
No, so we've got multiple bin locations.
Got
for
it, yeah.
traceable
Within
items
the one location, obviously.
within the one warehouse.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have got quarantine, as you've rightly mentioned there, which allows us to book, when we book stock in, to move it to a quarantine area before we move it back to free stock.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
The reason why we don't take it any further is because Sage 50 can't sort of cope with that. So because
we
we're
have the same
using the
issue.
Sage 50 sales orders and purchase orders, that doesn't have any ability of marking
to indicate
which
where it's coming
warehouse,
from. Yeah. No,
which
that's
warehouse
okay.
it's coming from or going to. Okay. So,
No,
but we do
that's
take
understood.
it that step further.
Okay,
Excellent.
that's grand.
So if we can search for items much the same as you can in Sage 50 accounts, so quick filters and things like that. And if I pick on this item, we can see that we've got figures across here, and we can drop into what we call the profile, which will give us a breakdown of those figures. So the quantity on order figures, the allocated figures, those sorts of things, which are very not that easy to find in Sage. You're having to sort of go up and down lists and things like that and try and find that information. We also have a profile which gives us like a running balance. So we can see that we've got 310 in stock, 20 coming in, going to leave, and 100 going out. So it's given us some information about where our stock balances are going to be in the future, as well as statistics around on time and late deliveries, that sort of thing. Pop deliveries. So we used to spend our life sort of writing reports for people around this information. So let's collect that and just present that to people in a dashboard. And just to show you some of the integration there, we've got the stock history, and this is being read directly from Sage. So any stock movements that we carry out in Cim50 is updating the stock history within Sage 50 accounts. Okay.
Yeah.
So as we've talked about traceability, so if I drop into traceability and I may know maybe a supplier's batch number or something like that, I can find that supplier batch number, find out the relevant stock code, see our batch number, and view the details. So if we had a recall from a supplier or something like that, I can see where it's come from and where it's been issued to. So I can see that it's been issued to a particular works order. Well, it's order 13, so I could then take that a step further and investigate that works order. Okay, so end-to-end traceability there. Any stock movements can be carried out within Cim50. So this is recognized that it is a traceable item and presenting with the batch numbers. If it was a non-traceable item, then I wouldn't get the opportunity to pick a batch. It would just work on a first in, first out basis.
And tell me this, I noticed there was a selection there a moment ago, the screen you just had open. You can move stock in and out to a specific project as well?
Yeah, so you can do projects. So if you've got projects switched on in Sage 50 accounts, you can do project issues. So again, if you're using traceability, you can issue the stock to the project in Sage 50 using traceability.
Yeah, that's cool.
So retaining that. And our traceability, we can also dispatch to sales orders, issue credit notes, that sort of thing. Again, maintaining traceability. So all of those type of transactions need to be carried out in Cim50.
Excellent.
So mentioned sort of receiving goods and dispatching goods. If I go into receiving goods, I can receive by order, product code or supplier. So we're not searching up and down lists or by due date for that matter. So if I know that I'm after we've just had some timber oak turn up, I didn't need to know the purchase order number. I knew the product code. I can now receive those goods and start receiving them in. You can see that we can book it into quarantine. It's not going to quarantine by default, but I could put it there if I wanted to. So I could say, right, I think this is not quite to spec, so I'll move it into quarantine. It's recognized that it's traceable. I could create multiple batches. I could have that auto generating if I wanted to, or manually entered, but we can record information like suppliers batch numbers, certificate numbers, further information, and we can also attach documents. So if I go off and maybe pick up a picture or something like that, that could be anything that you want to be, a PDF or whatever you want it to be, and then we can view that attachment. Okay. From
and tell me this, just as a general thing, accessibility with what you have here. Are you working off? I might be jumping slightly ahead, right? I don't mean to, but can you access Cim50, for instance, on? I suppose you could do with a Windows tablet anyway. But are there any other devices, anything else mobility wise outside? If you're booking stock in, is it literally you're just recording it as you come in, or are you working with any barcodes or?
Well, you could use our shop floor data capture
To do
that could be using a Windows tablet.
Oh,
if you wanted to, as long as the IT infrastructure was up to it.
Got it. Yeah. That's fine.
Okay. So from receiving goods, I can see what works order needs at. So just giving that information back to the user so that we've linked it all together. So why not give them that information that they can then go, that's an order that I know that Bob was asking about. I will route that material out to him. Okay, so I'm going to receive the goods so we can produce the relevant documents like goods received notes if we want to. So go with the goods. They can all be amended. We use Crystal Reports as our report designer, so they can be amended to suit customers' requirements, and you can have as many different layouts as you want. Labels, because I've told the item to print the labels, and now you can start to see the barcodes sort of coming through here. So this will get used later on through the system if we were using the shop floor data capture. So that's the batch number in a barcode format. Okay. And then finally, it's going to ask me if I want to allocate the stock, which I'm not going to do for this time. But if I wanted to, I could allocate that to that works order because I want to do that at a later stage. Okay. Quarantine, you can see I've got an item in quarantine and I can inspect that. So I can say how many are good, how many have been rejected, create returns note, inspection reports, all can be amendable as well, amended to suit the customer's needs. Actually, one thing I did forget to sort of include, sorry, just jumping back a little bit, is under the receiving of goods, we do have the ability to amend a receipt as well. You also have the ability to amend a delivery. You also have the ability to reverse a works order completion, as long as the stock hasn't been used, and then from a delivery point of view, as long as it's not been invoiced to the customer. Okay. So that gives people flexibility in that infamous undo button, if you like, because people go,
Now that's a good question, and may lead into sort of what we are looking at with 200 as well, right? But just as a general thing, I'm not trying to stall you in any way here. We have come across a number of companies, for instance, that are nearly reverse manufacturing, which is the likes of any kind of recycling companies and so on. So is there something to sort of handle that as well? I know you can create a bill of materials, but explode it back in the other direction kind of thing, or book it back into stock. Is there any capability for that?
Yeah, that's in bills of materials. So
all right,
I can show you that.
We'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah, no, it's there. No, it's good. So that was quarantine. Moving through stock control, just to finish off in there, we do have a stock take module, and this was something that we wrote. We wrote something similar for Sage 50 and Sage 50 manufacturing back in the day, so it only seemed right to have it in here. So we can create a count which could be for all our items or specific items, so we could filter it down maybe for a particular category or a particular analysis code or a particular bin location. We can remove items from that list. If I'm happy with that list, then I've created my stock take. I can print count sheets to distribute
Very good.
to the stores people to go off and count. I've not included the expected quantity because it said 10. They would say, yeah, there's 10 in there. I'm not gonna count those.
Okay.
You can export that to Excel. So just showing you some of the integration with the Microsoft Office. So I could fill that in the spreadsheet. Okay, I'd import that back in as a stock take, so I don't have to be sort of keying
Very
that
good.
in. Yeah. So again, you could split that up. While I've got items in the stock take, I can't do any stock movements because
You're locked out, yeah.
I've locked it. And when I come to update the count, I can say who did it. I can save the progress.
Yeah.
I can enter values. Okay, I can update the count or import the count. And when I update the count, I'm going to say that I'm going to ignore the uncounted items. Okay, I've finished it. I'm going to ignore the uncounted items because I'm counting by exception.
Okay.
And that will go off and is now consigned to history.
Part of the history, yeah.
So, yeah, and has been updated in the stock history and accounts.
Great.
So if I go off into accounts, just to show you some of the integration, and if I go into stock control, into my products, and I go down to my timber oak, I go to activity. There's my goods receipt.
Got it.
Okay, for that item, so we can see that. And if I go into the quantities in stock, got the 13.99. It's now been amended.
Yeah, see that.
Yeah, and if I look at the activity, there's my stock take there.
Got it. Okay, and you got that
Okay.
variance.
I've got some
quantity
demo
out.
data which is into the future. That's just demo
Yeah,
data
yeah,
where
yeah.
I've pushed some stuff forward to
Very
make
good.
it, but that's there. Okay, so it's
Excellent.
just showing you that it's instantly updating the system there across back to stage 50 accounts. Okay, so if we
Okay.
drop into bills and materials, unless there's any other questions around stock control, that good for you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
good.
I think that's enough. I mean,
Yeah.
I get the gist of it. I will show this to some people if it's a case that they want a bit more detail. We can organize a one-to-one anyway. So
Demo.
just
Yeah,
a
no problem.
general sort of overview. So first
Yeah.
of all, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
cool. So bills and materials then got the same sort of format with the new amend, view, copy and reports, etc. along the top there. If I pick on one of my desks and go into amend, okay, we've got our bill of material header details, so revision numbers. We don't do version control, but what we do is we audit log any change to a stock item, a bill of material or a works order. That's recorded in the audit log. Okay, costing quantities, we can write some instructions, we can have images, we can lock bills materials so certain people can't amend them if they wanted to, so if it was still being designed. We then got a list of components and quantities, so we've got some color coding here, so subassembly, so the engine that goes into the car that we're manufacturing is a subassembly, and I can drill down on that subassembly. And there's no limit to the number of subassemblies and the number of components that you can have on a bill of material. So again, somebody might have that restriction in Sage 50 accounts and need to move to a solution such as Cim50 to overcome that.
Okay.
As well as having components, we've also got operations. So what processes do we need to carry out to turn those components into a desk? So we need to fix the studs, we need to kit it, we need to assemble it, we need to inspect that desk. Okay, if I go into an operation, we've got quantity per run, times, labor costings, machine costings, setup times, instructions to appear on shop floor paperwork and the likes.
Very good.
Okay. We've also got documents that we can attach, which can filter through to works orders, costing and costing history. So we can, every time we cost it, we will get a costing history, which we can drill into if we want to. So people can realize the cost of their items, of manufacturing their items right through the components and operations, and drill down on that and sort of see the where things are changing, especially in the times that we're in at the moment.
And that allows for revisions as well, is it?
It will record the revision. So
All
if
right.
we enter the revision number at the front
Yeah,
on the front screen, when we cost that, it will capture
it'll
that
hold it
revision
against that.
number.
Got
And
it.
that revision number also flows through to the works order. Because if we move to the audit log, you can see there's the changes that have
That's the
been made.
change.
If
Yeah.
I save that record, go back into it, there's my changes that I've made.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, so revision number's been changed there.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So we can copy bills of materials. You can that's right the way through. We can trial kit a bill of materials, so we can interrogate the system and say, what are my shortages? We can do
Yeah.
that for multiple items. So if you've got common parts, it will look across
Yes.
those common parts. Okay. So we might have there's studs here that are both used on both bills of materials have been taken into account. And
Yeah.
from there, we can raise purchase orders, works orders if we wanted to.
From there. Yeah.
Yep. You can say how many can I make? That's the question. We can build from here, so you don't have to have works orders. So it will take the components out of stock, put a finished item into stock, and
Got
there's
it.
your reverse build as well. So you can either reverse build a build that you've made or a specific bill of material. So I
Yeah.
can come in here and then I can say that I want to
Split that. Yeah.
reverse build that, split that down.
And that'll update the component quantity levels as
Yep.
well.
Yep. So put a reference in there, reverse that, and then it will pop up with what do I want to, and I can play around with these figures and cost prices if I want to. So it's just taking that from the bill of material and the last cost prices, but we can play around with those figures because it may be that they could be different, or there might be certain items that we can't salvage. Okay. We can explode our bills of materials out. So if you wanted to see the bills of materials in a tree view from the top down and from the bottom up.
You can send that to Excel as well, I saw.
Yes. Yeah, so I can see that the plywood is used in the drawer bases. The drawer bases go into the drawer sets and so on.
Oh,
And
very
so
good.
forth.
Right, so you can
Yeah.
pick out individual stock
Yeah,
items
so
and
it's
then
like an
see the different
indented
columns.
use.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay,
Yeah.
I understand.
Cool. Costs from out here and run reports, so where use reports, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So that was bills materials. If we move into planning, the planning and MRP is where we can scan through our demands for a given date period. So I'm looking 6 months into the future.
Gotcha.
I'm looking across.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Sales orders, sales forecasts, and so on. So with sales orders, you're obviously you're looking at delivery due dates or stuff like that, is it? Or
yeah, in Sage. Yeah, so the due dates set in Sage. Make to stock as finger in the air. I want to make them because I know best. Reorder levels, because you might have set a reorder level and you want to maintain those. Sale forecast, you might have fed that into the system, and works orders are.
So your make for stock and your stock reorder levels, they're based on your minimum stock levels, are they?
Yes, so the reorder level will be the minimum, and you
Okay.
make to stock it just because you know best. You want to make them because you've decided that that's what you want to do.
Got it.
So I found a number of sales order lines. Some have been excluded, included make to stock, forecast, that sort of thing. And then I've got my list of demands. So there's some reorder levels, some sales order lines, and some works order components that are required. If I'm happy with that list, I can then move across to the MRP and run the MRP for the same date period.
Yeah.
I'm looking across all replenishments. Don't know why you wouldn't want to look at outstanding purchase orders, but we've given you the option, and we can be specific. So if we wanted to look at just maybe our favorite customers' sales orders,
yeah,
we
your
can do that.
priorities.
Yeah, on this run. However, if there was items which are needed on the other sales orders that we hadn't included, those sales orders would get included because we don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I'll run that through. And what that will do is it will come up with a shopping list, okay, of items that we need to manufacture and items that we need to purchase. Okay.
Gotcha. So in a nutshell, once you've run this, it's giving, what you have there that you're about. Well, everything is waiting you to apply an action to it. So whether that's a case that it's a case that the stock needs to be built, or you have to purchase it in, or that's literally what you're listing out here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that list has come from those demands. It's then gone off to look what free stock we've got, what outstanding purchase orders, replenishments that we've got running through the system, and come up with that list. Okay, and the key thing there is it's recommendations. So
Gotcha.
you're still in control. Okay,
Yes.
so you can amend any of this. You change anything. You can choose
Yeah,
a
you
different
don't have
supplier
to
because
suddenly purchase stuff that you're not ready to purchase just
yeah,
yet. It's
that's it.
effectively a recommendation.
Yeah, don't take it as read, or there are red lines on there, but those are because they need to happen today.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, as far as the system is concerned, because they're below their reorder level. Some of the information it's given us here is that it's telling us what's the highest level demand that this is for.
Yeah.
So sales order number 7, and as you can imagine, the lock set is quite far down in the bill of material, but it's still referencing that it's needed for sales order number 7. Okay. What it's also telling us is when we need it, so the 11th of October.
Yeah.
And it's then telling us that when we should be placing the order to get
Gotcha.
it in the day before. That's how I've set it. I've said that I want everything to come in the day before, because no good coming in on the 11th if it turns up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's no good to me. So I've told it that I want it to come in a day before, and that's all been calculated as well. The order date, receipt date, due dates have been demand dates have been calculated from the lead times.
Of course.
For
Yes, that's what I was
purchase
going to
items.
ask you. Yeah.
Okay, so you can set up lead times against your preferred supplier, or any supplier for that matter. And then for the manufactured items, that's come from the operations on the bill of materials, calculated all of the time that it takes to manufacture based on the operations, and calculated a start and end date for us. Okay, and then work back from there. So it's working back from due date. Okay, so as well as costing on.
I notice you've got a view in the top right. So forgive me if I missed what you sort of said there. So these are recommendations. What other views do you have here? Just so I know.
So we got we can look at the demands if we want to. So we can go right down through all of the demands. We can see what's been excluded, because we might be looking for something to go, I'm sure we need to order some of those, but we can actually see that we've got some of those in stock or something like that.
Okay, got it.
And we've also got rescheduling. So if you've switched on an item to allow it to be rescheduled, the system will recommend rescheduling. So if the demand dates change, that sort of thing. Okay. So what do we want to do from here? So we might want to action some of these recommendations. So if I pick one of these just at random, I go up and I process that. Okay, I'm just going to go for just this one recommendation. I could group them together if I wanted to.
Yes.
I've now created an order reference, so 20, and because this is a purchase, that's a purchase order. So if I drop across to Sage 50 accounts,
that's generated your PO.
That's generated my purchase order in Sage 50 accounts.
Very good.
For my locks, the £1 in this case, due on the 10th of October.
So the control is still within whoever is purchasing here as well.
Yes.
So these are effectively the recommended purchase orders that have been passed through to Cim50 for them to act on effectively.
Act on.
All right.
Yep. And I've got it coming across as on order just for convenience, but you could switch it off the on order, so it just comes across and somebody needs to place it on order. So you can put those, still maintain those controls if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sure. Look, in most cases, you have people who are, in the production industry. They're looking at their suggested purchases on a daily basis. All right, but is there any other way of notifying them, bar the fact that it appears under their purchase orders?
Not really. Yeah, it would just.
No, that's okay. It's just ask the question, really.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm now going to action a manufactured item. Yep. So you'll see here that we need 37, but it's up to 100. That's taken into account our reorder rules on this item. So we've said that we want to make at least 100, so it's an economical batch size, that sort of thing. So that's a reorder quantity that's sat against this item.
Very good.
So I go up and action that item. I'm just going to do this one just to keep it nice and simple.
Absolutely.
And I now have a works order under the order reference. So it's a good time to now move across to works orders.
Yeah.
So there's my works order. Okay, and the works order is pulled across all the dates, etc., which have been calculated in MRP. I can print documentation, so route cards, So that's the instructions to the shop floor with those operations on. A picking list for the stores to go and pick the components. An operation card is a piece of paper per operation. A job sheet is a summary of the route card. There's not quite as much information on there. And then we've got various labels there as well. I'm choosing to print 3 of those documents.
Okay.
So we'll let that just run through. So we've got a label.
Yeah.
With a barcode on there because I've told it that's what I want it to do.
Label, yeah.
Yeah, so we can put those onto the goods. A picking list for the stores.
Yeah.
So again with the barcode for the shop floor data capture. So if I was issuing the stock, you scan the barcode and then we can then start to pick the materials, the components. Okay, it's telling us where to pick them from. So our bin locations that we normally store these items in. Okay, and somewhere to record. Again, these can be laid out to suit the customer's needs or the business needs. And then a route card, same header information, dates and quantities, what it's linked to. So this is for this sales order number 6.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got our drawing information, which come from the bill of materials. So it's just feeding through from other areas of the system. And then we've got operations. So with the times, run times, and then again, the barcode for booking on and off of labor from a labor point of view. Okay. If you didn't want to go shop floor data capture, there is also timesheet entry, so people can enter that in manually if they wanted to. Okay. And then if you didn't want to go timesheets at all, the system will use the standard time set up on the bill of material. Okay, so next thing that we might want to do is take care of the stock control. So we can trial kit a works order or works orders and make sure that we've got the materials, we haven't got any shortages.
Yeah.
I can allocate stock if I want to, so I can reserve before I issue to work in progress, or I can go straight to issue to work in progress. And when I do that, I've got the ability to issue part issue. I can just issue the allocations. I can reverse issue if we want to, so complete flexibility there. And because these items are traceable, it's asking me to pick the batches. So I'm just going to keep it nice and simple and just go on a first in, first out basis.
Yeah.
As we're going through. So that's now been issued. That works order is now issued. And if I go into that works order, moving across to the costings, we're now starting to get actual costs there. So slightly higher than we were expecting. So some of those materials, if we look in the actual costs, may be higher than we were expecting. We can start to interrogate the system to see why that's come about.
Very good. You can get on top of it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And what we can then also do is produce a work in progress valuation report for the accountants to use how they wish. Okay. Under the routing, we've also got capacity planning. So that's like rough cut capacity planning. So if I come in here and maybe look at a particular resource, I can see how much of the time within that resource is being taken up and what works orders are using up that capacity. If it was over capacity, they would pop out the top there. We just do rough cut capacity planning. So if we're over capacity, it's up to the business to decide how they're going to deal with that, put on an extra shift, move the job, that sort of thing.
So the resources then for the likes of your labor, does that factor in on the works order aspect of it? Or is that elsewhere?
Well, the labor that was, so it could be the labor or machine that we can look at from capacity planning, and then you set it up in the settings of what's your primary resource.
Gotcha. So, and do you have the ability for skill levels, or so if somebody, defining a particular role, that somebody is cuts the material, other people sew the material, do you get to define any kind of skill sets attributed to them at all?
Not right down to individuals, but what we can do is we can say, right, in the sewing department we've got 3 people.
Got it.
So then say that we've got 3 times the 8 hours or whatever. Okay,
all
right.
So
we've got 24 hours in a day.
Yep.
Okay. So that's that side of things. We've also got things like work to lists and things like that. So sort of visibility of data. We can deal with subcontract as well.
Very
so
good.
If you've got processes which are carried out outside of your business, maybe painting, plating, that sort of thing,
galvanizing,
you
that kind of stuff,
that's it. Yeah, you can raise a purchase order for the subcontractor. You can send the goods with an advice note. You can receive that back into work in progress and then continue your manufacturing processes if you wanted to. You receive the invoice and match that to the purchase order and the deliveries that have taken place. So full traceability there.
Okay.
We can add miscellaneous costs, so maybe a skip hire or something like that can be added onto the works order. So things which are outside of material, labour, subcontract, that sort of thing.
You can add them in.
Yeah. And then finally, what we would do is we can complete the works order. I'm not going to book it into quarantine because we saw that before, but I can complete short if I want to. I can complete long. It's entirely up to you. There's various settings on how the system deals with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes. It's recognised that I haven't booked any labour, so I'm just going to use the standard times. And now what it's doing is it's prompting me, because this is a traceable item, for a batch number. And then I can confirm that. I've also set it up. This item prints a label, so that's what it's done. It's printed a label at the end as well. Yeah. So I can put that onto the goods. That's now in stock. So if I go to find my oak desk in the stock system, under history, there's my works order completion, 100 of them. And if I look at my batches, there's my batch.
There's your batch numbers, yeah.
Okay. That's now ready to be dispatched. So if I now go to external, I can dispatch through here. I know that it's oak desk. I can't remember the order.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have tested you to see if you knew what sales order we were making it for.
I was going to just say 6 or 14. It was on the tip of my tongue, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. We're going to do the 37, and it's then prompting me for the batches. So as we made this batch, I'm going to take the batch that we made. That's now not on a first in, first out basis, which you would ordinarily get with Sage 50 accounts. It would just take it on a first in, first out. I'm taking a newer batch first.
Got it.
Receive, dispatch that. Do you want to dispatch it? Yes, I do. I've now got a dispatch note, which I can amend. I can add items. I can take items away. So full flexibility. I can print a picking list if I want to.
Yeah. And do you dispatch from here, or is that done through 50?
So that's done now. The dispatch is carried out, but I can create a delivery note with a packaging information, that sort of thing. So courier information. So
back in 50, then your order has been completed, dispatched, and billed effectively.
Yeah. There's my delivery note. We haven't quite done the invoice yet.
Yeah. But it does generate it, doesn't it?
Yes,
processing.
it will. Yeah. Up until the point that I do update it to invoicing, I can amend that. I can reprint it. The delivery note will look the same every time that we reprint it. Again, Sage 50 is a little bit tricky with those sorts of layouts. Once you've dispatched it in Sage 50, you get the invoice straight away. You can't amend it, whereas we've got full flexibility until the point that I update it to invoicing. Now I've got an invoice. If I go into Sage now, didn't have to have Sage open for this to happen. It just happens in the background. There's my invoice. Detailing the sales order number, delivery note, the stock code and the quantity and all of the details. That can then be printed, emailed, faxed and updated to the ledgers. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell, really. Okay,
very good. Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. And the last bit there, just back in Cim50, I see you have a list of dashboards there as well. Look, I don't, obviously you don't have to show me shop floor data collection, but I was interested to sort of see just, some of the kind of reporting you can get from this. Any kind of live feeds? Do you have that as well?
Yeah. So let me just refresh those, because ordinarily these would run overnight, and some of them are live. So if I go into the stock control dashboards, so you get things like a stock valuation, sort of pie chart, best performing suppliers, worst performing suppliers, stock value by sell by date from a traceability, age stock, last movement date. So if we were looking for things which have happened today, so yeah, we were bringing these items in today, so we can see those. Okay, and those run right the way through each of the modules. So we've added some dashboards into each of the modules. And the other
Excellent.
one module that we didn't really look at was quotations. But what this allows you to do is build a quotation from the ground up, or a bill of material from the ground up, which so we're not clogging up our bill of materials side of things, or
Got it.
clogging up our stock records with
Yeah.
lots of items which may not come to anything. Or we want to just create it as a one-off, so it stays as a non-stock item. We carry
Got it.
that through to a sales order and a works order, and we manufacture that item and invoice it to the customer, keeping it all within the Cim50
Got it.
solution.
And you can convert it to what, a sales order or a works order, is
Yes.
it? Or
yeah, both of them, and raise purchase orders for the materials that
Of
you
course,
may be
yeah, for
short
what
of
you
as
need
well.
as well.
Yeah.
And tell me this then, shop floor data collection then. I take it the guys just have a sort of single screen they're working off in order to move the stock along, or they're indicating that they've
Yeah.
completed certain works orders, is it?
Yes, it would be. Yeah. So if I just drop into that very, very quickly.
All right, I wasn't expecting you to
Yep.
have it, but look, if you
Yeah.
have it, just to see it.
So yeah, so it runs in on a Windows device. So if I was to scan a barcode to say who I was, you can see that we've got every single stock movement,
All the stuff that we would have
available
had
to us.
originally, yeah. And of
Yeah,
course, you can limit
and
that to the
operation.
user as well.
Yes, of course you can. Yeah. So I can carry out any stock movement in here. So if I was maybe coming in here and I scan the purchase order. Sorry. Goods receipt. Might be good if I did the right one, wouldn't it? There we go. So there we go. So that I've scanned the purchase order number, and there's the lines on there. I can then scan the product code. I'm typing it in just like if you were in the supermarket and you had a barcode which wasn't good for you.
Yeah.
I'm just entering it on the keyboard,
So
but if there's a barcode, we can scan it.
You can just scan it and just keep moving.
Yeah.
Very good. And the same options available for progressing a works order as well, I'd imagine.
Yes. Yeah. Issuing stock, completing stock. It's just trying to print a label, but I haven't got a label printer. Yeah. So I can issue stock, allocate stock, carry out
pretty much all the
subcontract,
stuff you showed me
everything.
earlier.
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything can be done by a barcode.
So effectively, it's another graphical way of sort of accessing the same type of actions and processes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Just simplified, really.
All right, cool. Well, look, I that's all I really wanted a quick look through at the moment. You did very well, Martin, for getting through as much as you did in such a short space of time. So look, I really appreciate it.
No, you're welcome.
I'm going to review over that. I'll come back to you. There's a couple of people I'm talking to. You know, we'll probably look for a more in-depth view of this anyhow. But you've recorded this anyway, so you might send me the link for it when we're done, or it'll come up in Teams anyway. And look, you're okay with me sending this on to anybody who needs it anyway? Are you?
More than welcome. I'm glad it's of use.
Cool, excellent. All right, Martin. Listen, appreciate your time. That's quite a bit for me to work with, which is great, and a few things that it's just reinforced for me and what the capabilities are, and a couple of things that I wasn't aware of as well. So, look, I think I got out of it what I needed here anyhow. So, look, appreciate it, and look, I'll talk to you soon. I might ask you to give me a run through on 200. The 200 version soon enough, all right? But I'll drop you a mail on that. Let me get through the month end first, and then I'll come back to you and all the other stuff, all right?
Okay. Yeah. Cheers, Howard.
Super stuff. Thanks, Martin. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.